Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Crisis Technology Center, presented by IAEM's Emerging Technologies Caucus. We have our second to last micro talk happening right now, and it's going to be talking about video conferencing and a lot of easy, cheap, and or free solutions for using in your EOC and in your daily emergency management practices. We're thrilled to have Don Fisher joining us. He has also been the maestro of this booth, has made the microphone work, has made the TVs sync, and so he's an incredible ETC member, and we're very grateful to have him sharing with us now. So, Don, take it away.
Thanks, Sarah. I guess you always need an AV guy to help out the EM response stuff, right? So, sorry, Jennifer, sorry. Anyway, it's been a long day, so. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about video conferencing and talk about traditional and some new stuff coming down the line. So first of all, how many people have video conferencing systems currently in their facility? And they're probably hardware-based. They're probably attached to a room. So if you want to do a video conference, we have to go to the video conferencing room, right? And how long have you had those systems installed? Years? Been around? Yeah. They tend to be pretty expensive. And that's why we built a room, because we spent $30,000 to $50,000 on this video conferencing system, and we're going to put it in a room, and only certain people can go in to use it, and everybody gets in, gathers around the table, and we do the video call. And they also tend to go out on two different kinds of networks, IP and ISDN. How many people have ISDN lines still in their facility on their video conferencing? Anybody? It's definitely a dying network, but there's still some people out there to use ISDN, believe it or not. But IP is certainly coming along. The other thing about those traditional video conferencing systems is that you typically did a point-to-point call. So in other words, my room, my system is going to call your room and your system, and we're going to have a meeting, and we'll talk back and forth. But then if I needed to bring somebody else in, then I had to have a bridging system. Now, some of those traditional video conferencing systems had a bridge built into it. What that means is I could do a multi-site call. But yet, if I needed to have more than maybe about 4 different sites come in, I had to go to an external bridge. And external bridges cost about $100,000, and that's not something everybody had. And a lot of times people would say, well, I've got a meeting room here, and I need to have a video conference with 6 other rooms, and but I can't do it because I don't have access to a bridging system. So, technology's changing, things are evolving, and I see that the traditional room is still needed out there. The traditional video conferencing hardware is still needed, but there's so much more you can do in the future. Now, I can sort of make a prediction here that I can tell you that every one of you sitting here in the audience has a video conferencing system in your pocket, on your belt. And that's where we see the next focus in video conferencing is a soft codec that runs either on a PC, tablet, or smartphone. It's an app. And when I say a codec, that's actually the software that actually converts all the video and audio signals to a digital format that sends it out over a network, and then also receives that digital information and converts it back into an audio-visual format. And so, like I said, you've got video conferencing hardware right now in your pocket. So why don't you take use of it? Make use of that conferencing hardware. And it's available to you as an app or as a service. And so I want to talk a little bit about some apps, and we'll talk a little bit about some services and how you can implement these. The first one is Skype. How many people have heard of Skype? Everybody. It's the Kleenex of video conferencing. How many times do you say, hey, let's do a Skype? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to use the Skype platform to video call back and forth on. It's like, let's do a Skype call. Okay, we might be using something else. So Skype has really done a lot out there in the marketplace to make soft video conferencing available. It's free. So that's the best thing about Skype. It's free. Now, there's also Skype for Business. And it's interesting, about a year or so ago, Microsoft bought Skype. And they bought Skype for one reason, and that was to bring the Skype technology in for their Lync system. How many people have Office 365 in their agencies or organizations? You have Skype for Business. And Skype for Business, in my opinion, has done a lot, or Lync Video has done a lot to really bring video conferencing out to people. People are now comfortable going in on their computer, going into a small huddle room, doing a Lync call or a Skype for Business call to another team member someplace across the world and work together on something. So Skype has really done a lot. In Skype now, for at least the free version of Skype, you can do up to 10 people. So you have multi-site support. So that means you and 9 of your friends can get together on a call and talk back and forth. It also has content sharing. What that means is that if I have information on my computer or my tablet or my phone, I can send that to you so you can look at it. So instead of seeing my smiling face, you can see my spreadsheet of information. You can see my WebEOC view that I'm seeing on my display. Or I can send you a picture of what I'm looking at that I brought up. So content sharing is important. And really content sharing is what separates a lot of the apps that we're talking about from some other video apps. And just want to make a comment here is that we're talking about video conferencing and video chat. How many people have heard they're in video chat? Video chat's kind of come about because it's an easy thing to do. And a lot of the applications we're talking about actually fit into the video chat applications because there are people use them to talk to other friends and family. Now, there are a number of other apps out there that I'm not going to talk about because they really are more social-based video conferencing and not necessarily business or commercial use type video based. So, as far as content sharing, they can do that, and also the operating systems included. There are many, Skype can run on a lot of different applications, including some Samsung TVs, which I thought was interesting. So you can get a TV with a built-in webcam, and now you've got a video conferencing system to Skype with. Next one is FaceTime. It's from Apple. It's free. How many people use FaceTime? If you got an Apple device, probably FaceTime all the time. It's actually pretty reliable. It works really well on slow networks or networks that have varying speeds. It adapts pretty well to that. The problem is you can't do multi-site currently with FaceTime. FaceTime is a point-to-point call only, and it's only point-to-point with another Apple device, either iOS or an OS X system. So, if you want to call somebody with an Android device or a PC, can't do it on FaceTime. And there's no content sharing either. So I can't take my computer screen and show you what I've got on my screen. Now, there is some rumor based on some patent applications that FaceTime might support in the future both multi-site and content sharing, but currently it does not. ooVoo. Anybody familiar with ooVoo? It's been around a long time, and it sort of started as that social video chat kind of application. You get together with your friends and family. Now, ooVoo has progressed into a more business-focused, and they actually have split into a free model and a premium model. So the free version you can get, it has some ads that pop up, or you can pay $30 a year and get the premium version. They have a couple of different plans that you can look at, and it's pretty darn good. It works really well. It works well on scalable networks. In other words, if you have a slow connection and I have a fast connection, it helps adapt to that. I'm not bringing everybody down because I have a slow connection. You can do multi-site up to 12, so you and 11 other folks can get together. You can do content sharing on it, so that makes it kind of nice. And of course, it's it can support many different OSs. So if you've got a PC, Apple, Android, iOS, a lot of different multiple platforms. Google Hangouts. If you're a Google shop, Google Hangouts is a great tool. If you're not a Google shop, even just starting up a Google account to have access Hangouts is a great thing to do. It's free. You can do multi-site up to 10 folks. You can do content sharing on that. Another interesting thing about Google Hangouts is that you can actually do a public web stream during your call. So this might be a great application that if you're doing a community preparedness discussion and you want to have a couple of different folks come into it, and then you want to be able to stream that conversation out to your public website so that the public can go in and see that conversation. You can do that through Hangouts. Hangouts is pretty robust. It works really well on different networks. In other words, if I have a slow connection, you have a fast connection kind of situation. It also will downscale that if it automatically senses that you don't have enough bandwidth to do a video call, now we're going to an audio call. So it's really got a good application for it. And like I said, it supports many different OSs. I have a client that's the main reason, the main way we discuss things is over Google Hangouts. And it's not unusual that there will be 5 to 6 people on a call around the world on a Google Hangout call, and we're talking back and forth. So you might say, hey, that's great, but if I'm on my Skype call, I really can't call my room system. If I've got to interface with another agency, then that's all they have is a Polycom or a Cisco or a Timbre, even to go back that far, or a life-size system, I can't do a Skype call to them. There are some interesting things coming out now out there, and I'm just going to talk about a few of them, but because of the cloud, now we're seeing cloud approaches that allow you to do cross-platform video conferencing. So what that means is that if I have a PC, I can do a video call with a room system. If I've got 6 room systems and I've got somebody I want to bring in on a tablet, I can do that. They also have flexible multi-site. So a lot of these services, and they are they are cloud-based services, allow you to scale up. So you might say, you know, most of the time I just have 5 people that I need to talk with, do a 5-way multi-site call. But there's occasionally when I need to have 100 people on. That's the great thing about a cloud-based service, is they can scale that up for you and provide that capability, and just pay for it as you need it and not pay for it all the time. So it really does give you the ability to take that traditional video conferencing system and bring in the portable devices and integrate them together. So what are some examples of that? Well, there's a couple of them out there that are really good. Zoom is one. Zoom is, and these are paid services now, so these are subscription type services that you might want to look at. Zoom allows you to do that. BlueJeans. We kind of thought BlueJeans was a funny name for a tech company, but it is, and the reason why they call that is because they wanted to be as easy as just putting on your BlueJeans. Is why they named the company that. But BlueJeans actually works really good. I've used that system, and it's a cloud-based, fee-based service, and it really does work. And it's amazing how it works. You know, I could have the BlueJeans app on my phone, and I can call a room system, and I can bring 20 other people on the call, and it just works. It works really, really well. Another one is Polycom. Polycom has been in the video conferencing business for a long time. They have a system that allows you to, here again, integrate all their devices, multiple kinds of devices together. They tend to only kind of allow those to talk to one another, so you know it's a good system. And actually, they actually are just down the hallway right there, so I definitely go by and see them and see what they're doing. They also have a great solution if you're a Link house or a Skype for Business house. They have a good solution to bring in traditional video conferencing in and make it a Link endpoint or a Skype for Business endpoint. So if you're doing Skype for Business, definitely Polycom is something you want to look at. So all these services are available, and that's sort of the next step up. So if you say, hey, I want to try Google Hangouts for a while, it works really good, but it's got some limitations because I can't call a room system, well, then you want to go look at Zoom, BlueJeans, or Polycom. So I want to give you some tips now. So no matter what platform you're on, if you're on a BlueJeans app, or you're on a Google Hangout, or you're on Skype, there are some things that I want you to leave today with and to realize, how can I make a better call? How can I make a better experience for both on my end and also on the far end? Well, first you need to start with a good quality camera. And today when you buy a laptop, tablet, or phone, there's a camera built into it. So you got to think, well, why can't I just use the built-in camera? Well, you can, and in some cases it's good, but you might want to look at an external one. My Chromebook right here has a great little webcam built into it. It's not all that great. So if I really wanted to do a good quality video call, I would put something on it like this Logitech camera. That's a great camera. It's about $99. Works great. Plug it in, pops up. It's got a built-in microphone. It's got a high, like a 1080p type camera in it, so you got great signal. So you want to look at that. The other thing is camera placement. Now this is really important, and there's a couple of things about camera placement you want to think about. One is, where do you put the camera? Well, you want it above the far end, and the far end is nothing more than the person that you're looking at on the other end of the call. Because what you want is that as you're looking at the camera, you won't be looking at the screen. So imagine Mary Jo, if we're video back and forth, and you're on my monitor, I'm looking at this, but if my monitor's over here, I'm going to be talking to you because I see you on my monitor, but my camera's here, and that's what you see. So it's important that you have your camera in the same plane, same direction as your monitor, because it's easier to go back and forth like this than it is to go back and forth like that. So just make sure about that. And that's something you want to think about too on the tablets, because some tablets, if you're in landscape mode, the camera's on the side. If you have an iPad, the camera's on the side. Now if you're in portrait mode, it works okay, but if you're in landscape, the camera's over here, and you're kind of like, well, do I, move back and forth. Selfie is another thing that you also want to have on whenever you're doing a video call, is you want to see yourself. It's not because of being vain, it's just because you want to make sure that you're framed up right. And that's another thing that you want to think about, is the angle that your camera sits at and how you're framed up in the frame. So this is a good example of probably how you do not want to do video conferencing, because we call this the up-the-nose shot. Because imagine, what the persons on the other end are looking at. So you want to always be conscious of that, and that's another reason for having self-view up on your video call. So if you are using a tablet, put it on the table. If you're using your phone, have a little kickstand that allows it to sit still. Because what you don't want to do is have the camera down like this, and what's the far end going to see? The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be doing this movement. That's something else that the far end gets like being on a roller coaster. I'm moving around video, and look at here, let's do this. So you want to kind of avoid that movement. Make sure that it's sitting still. And the best way to do video conferencing on a smartphone or tablet is to place it on the table. Look at how you're being framed up. You want to make sure that you're framed up in the frame and you're not just one little section over here and a bunch of blank space. Another important thing to think about is lighting. And lighting can come in a couple of different things. One is you need to think about the source of your lighting. And I can tell you that the backlighting on your video monitor is probably not the best lighting source for a video call. I've seen it done where you have this sort of glow and nothing in the background. Yeah, it does work, but there's some other things you want to think about. Now, you want to think about the direction of the light, because if the light is coming from the side or coming from the front or coming from behind you, it can really affect the call. And so look at this picture here. So this is an example of the light being strong backlit. In other words, the light's coming from behind. And what does the camera do? The camera will automatically adjust its level to the brightest thing. So it adjusts the camera to compensate for the bright light in the background. Thus the subject, you, are in the dark. So you want to avoid that. So what you want to do is have the light always come from the front, or a combination of the front and from the side, because that kind of creates some depth to you. So you can see the picture there on the right looks much better because the light is coming to the front, it's got a little bit of side fill to it, and so forth. The other thing you might think about too is if you have a situation where you're inside and there's no windows, well then you might have a lamp sitting to the one side. So if I'm doing a video call here with my computer, I might put a lamp right here that has some nice diffused light on my face. Better than having the lamp behind me, because remember it's going to happen. So just think about that. Be conscious of your lighting conditions. The other thing is the background. That's something we always want to be conscious of, is the background. And you might think of that for a couple of reasons. One is distractions from the far end. So if I'm sitting here and I've got a bunch of people going behind me, that's very distracting to the far end, or the people watching me. The other thing you might want to think about is any confidential information. I've been in a lot of rooms where there's a whiteboard on the back wall, on the opposite wall from the camera, and there's a bunch of super secret stuff written up there. Well, you open a video call, people are reading all your stuff on your whiteboard. You're looking at this room here, the camera sees all those monitors in the background. Well, that might have some sensitive information on it. So just think of that. Think about how you frame up the image, what's in the background, keep it nice and clean and not distracting, and also not sharing any information you don't want to share. So we talked about the visual tip. Let's talk about some audio tips. So there's a couple of things that you might want to be thinking about as your speakers. First of all, is how do you hear the far end? Well, if you're using a computer or a tablet or phone, they have built-in speakers, and a lot of times those work perfectly well. You just got to think about where the sound comes out. My iPhone here, the sound comes out the end here. So if I have my phone sitting here, the sound's going to come out the side. That might be okay. Your computer has speakers here underneath it. Might be okay. The other thing you want to think about is the volume, because as you increase the volume, you also are increasing what the microphone picks up from the audio from the far end. So the louder you get it, the system has to work a little harder to cancel that out so you don't get a feedback. So just be cautious of that. And if you ever are in a video call and there's a lot of echo, just lower the volume on your speaker and see if that helps. The other thing you want to think about is your microphone. How is what you're sending out being picked up? So where is its location? On this computer, there's a microphone built in this top screen. On that webcam I showed you, there's also a microphone built there. That's great, because if I've got my monitor and I've got my camera there, I'm speaking right into the microphone. And if I have an external microphone, for example, like this, what this lady here has, the microphone has that little white bump on her headphones. If that's brushing around on my shirt, or I got a piece of jewelry or something hitting it, the far end is going to hear that. So just be conscious of that. The other thing you want to think about is doing external devices. So, if you're in a video call and people are having a hard time hearing you, put a pair of headphones on, because then that breaks the feedback from the speaker into the microphone that the far end can hear. you might want to wear headphones anyway just for privacy. So if you're in the EOC and you want to do a video call and there's a bunch of people around you, they probably don't want to hear all that. You can just put some headphones on. The other thing you can think about doing is an external speakerphone, and those can be either USB or Bluetooth device. So what that is a device that has a speaker and a microphone built into it. You can sit it on the table. That works really well. Like I said, I have 2 or 3 people sitting around my computer and I'm doing a video call. That picks up much better, has a better coverage than using the built-in speakers. Those are pretty inexpensive, about $100 or so, and if you do a lot of video calls, it's a great thing to have. I want to leave you probably with the most important tip I can impart with you, is learn where the mute button is. That's super important for a couple of reasons. One, you might be on a call, and you think you're muted, and you might say something that you don't want the far end necessarily to hear. That's happened to me, and it's like I thought I'd mute the microphone. It's like I'm rushing around trying to figure out something, whatever. So you want to do that. The other thing that's important about doing a mute call, knowing where your mute button is that when you're in a group video call, is that you want to always mute your microphone. For example, Google Hangouts will automatically switch to who's on the main screen based on audio. So if I have my mic open and there's 10 other folks on the call and I'm even just typing or rustling around, it hears that noise, it's going to switch automatically to me. So especially if you're on a multi-site call, mute your microphone. Matter of fact, Google Hangouts does a nice little thing where it says if your microphone is muted, and there you mute it through the app, that and you start talking, it gives you a little pop-up that says, hey, your microphone's muted, you need to unmute for people to hear you. So, but find that mute button, use it, use it, use it. If you get nothing else out of this talk, know where your mute button is. So let's talk about implementing video conferencing. So there's a couple places I think you can put it into use. One is obviously for briefings in the EOC. You can do a brief videoed out to team members out in the field. Maybe you need to bring a subject matter expert in, somebody remotely, and you can't get them there physically, but they can pop in on a video call. Set them up on a Skype call, have them call in. There might be times when you have a remote function that you need to have. Maybe you've got a logistics team that's physically different. Your logistics branch is not going to sit in the EOC for some other reason. They might be in another room. Video them in. Make them part of the whole process. And certainly VOS members. If you've got virtual support folks that are someplace else, bring them in. See their smiling faces. Let them see the situation that you're sitting in. The other thing you can do is for your PIO is to do media briefings. Why not do a Skype video call out to the local TV station and give an update? It's interesting to me, if you look at even CNN and Fox, all the major networks, how many times do you see somebody remotely sitting in their living room giving, a witness account over Skype? And the technology has gotten that great to be able to have, for network TV, to use Skype. The other thing is in your mobile command post. Maybe you need a link back and forth, and maybe you have a live link that shows the EOC and what's going on in the mobile command post, so they feel like they're much more integrated into what's happening in the EOC. The other thing, too, is that maybe it's a hazmat situation and you need to show the scene back to decision makers. You don't want the decision makers to be on scene, but you can walk around with your handheld device and actually show what's going on. Something to think about. The other thing is, I think you should use it every day. That's one thing that, I was talking to one agency and I said, hey, are you doing, like PC-based video conference? And they said, oh, yeah, we've got Google Hangouts. I got my Impact team. They all got Google Hangouts signed up, ready to go. So have you used it? No, we haven't used it yet. Well, why don't you just use it? It's free. So, I would encourage you to go out and sign up on one of these platforms. Get involved with it. Use it for training. If you've got somebody, you want to bring them in, do some training across it, do that. Team meetings are the way to do it. Heck, what I think you should do is if you meet somebody here, schedule next month, hey, we're going to do lunch together. I'm in California, you're in New York, doesn't matter. We're going to have lunch over a video call and just talk and catch up. Use it. Get out there and use it, because what happens is if you use it in non-stressful situations, you get comfortable with it, like anything else. You know that when the video freezes slightly, oh, that's okay, give it a second, it'll clear up. Whereas if you're experiencing that in a stressful situation, it's going to panic and chaos and everything's all fall apart. The other thing, too, is use it for your personal use, too. Stay in touch with your family. If you're deployed out for a while, use that video technology to come back and see your kids or see your wife and let them know what's going on, and just use it every day. I video with my son quite frequently because he's in Connecticut and we just video time back and forth. We stay connected. So we talked about traditional video conferencing, how it's still out there, it's still available, still being bought. You might have legacy systems, you still need to use it. We talked about the emerging video conferencing, the apps that are app-focused, to how they run on smartphones, PCs, and tablets. And I hope I can give you some tips that you can go back and make video calls with. So, how to mute your microphone, how to make sure the lighting is correct, make sure that you're not having something in the background that's distractive, like your cat or something walking by, that might be not the most professional thing to have. And I hope I encourage you to at least go out and start using video conferencing. That's probably the best thing, is just go use it today. Just get out there and make it happen. All right, thank you so much. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Oh, yes. Thank you. That's good. The question was, make sure that, if you're calling in, because a lot of these video platforms allow you to call in on a telephone, make sure that you know if they have music on hold, because you say, just a second, I'll be right back. You put somebody on hold, and now we're all hearing the music that your agency has chosen to put on the phone system. So, any other questions? Or any other ideas or tips that y'all have come across? All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. We're really happy to have you. I think we got a lot of useful lessons. I know that if you join us in the Emerging Technology Caucus on our monthly conference calls, I can see if you are the phone that isn't muted, and I will call you out on it. The software helps with that, so be warned. Learn where that mute button is. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Our final speech will actually be from our leaving chair, Mary Jo Flynn. She's going to be talking about scheduling Twitter messages, social media messages, ways to make it easier. If you've seen any of the tweets from our IAEM ETC account, a lot of these things have been used. She's going to be talking about ones you can write beforehand and be ready to go during a disaster. So that will be here at 12:30. We're going to give everybody some time to grab lunch and come back over here. Feel free to join us and eat over here. If you have any questions about anything else, there's a lot of different experts wandering around who would be happy to speak to you. If you don't know what each of these symbols means, we'll tell you. Some may know, some may not. It's pretty fun. And thank you all for joining us today. We hope to see you this afternoon. Oh, last thing. We have a hackathon wall back there. The IBM is working with IAEM to host a hackathon. If you have any ideas for apps, web protocol, things that you would like a team of nerds to make for you, to make your life easier, please add it to the wall. We would love to see more ideas up there. Thank you.